lot of us remember in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, I explained to you pretty extensively that a lot of wealth is culture. That if your culture says that you should rent before you buy or just rent your whole life, then that's what a lot of people are going to do, even when they can afford to do more than rent. Renting is it's a cultural habit. It's a cultural norm. It's something that we're encouraged to do. Just like working for white people is something you're encouraged to do. You don't have to go work for a white man. You don't have to go have a job, but you feel like you do because that was all you were told. A lot of families, there are a lot of kids that grow up in families where they're never told about getting a job. All their parents ever tell them is you should own land, you should run the farm, you should run the business, you should go make investments. So don't think that everybody has to work. Like I grew up in my household, we were told that everybody had to work. If you don't work, you don't eat. And I do believe work is important, but working for people is not something you have to do. That is a cultural phenomenon, and it's something that's pushed on Black people, Americans in general, but especially Black people, because we've been working for 400 years. Give me a guess if you know what I'm talking about. So here is a little factoid about that amount. Let's assume that young lady's really paying $7,600 a month in rent, which is it's a pretty hefty amount of money. I'm sure she's doing quite well for herself, and if so, I'm very, very happy for her. But let me give you a few little facts to kind of think about. If she's paying that much money in rent, do you know that in 5 years she will have given away $500,000 to the landlord? To be more precise, it's $456,000. So in 5 years, that's $456,000 in money going out the window. After 10 years, she's given away $912,000. If she rents the place for 15 years, assuming rent does not go up, of course, which you all know that it is, but so this is a conservative estimate, it grows to $1.8 million given away. After 20 years, it becomes $2.7 million. After 30 years, it becomes after 30 years, it's 2.7 million. After 40 years, it will be 3.6 million. And in fact, a lot of us probably know people who've been paying rent for 20 or 30 years. Give me a yes in the chat if you know some Black person somewhere who's been paying rent on time consistently for 20 years. Give me a yes if you know somebody who's been paying rent consistently for, say, 30 years. Give me a yes if you know somebody who's been paying rent for their whole entire life. We pay rent, we pay it on time. That's how we keep our credit good and everything else. Well, one thing that you have to understand is that you're giving away massive, massive amounts of money to another party. We know this, but on top of that, you're not just giving away the money, you're giving away all the interest that is being earned on the money, right? Or if you make car note payments, nothing wrong with having a nice car. My wife sent me over a new car that she wants us to get now because, we got grown kids, and you know how kids get when they become teenagers, they want to run out and do stuff. So we're going to get another car. And the car she sent me, it wasn't no hoopty. It wasn't it wasn't a Toyota Corolla. It was a bougie ass car that you would expect. Mrs. Dr. Watkins to want to get. My wife does not drive in raggedy cars. So there's nothing wrong with having a nice car. I don't want to make you feel shame or embarrassment for wanting nice stuff, because if I shamed you for that, then I'd be shaming myself. So anyway, but with that said, though, one of the things that we do is when we buy a car, we don't buy new cars. We buy cars that are about 2 or 3 years old, and we don't even though we could afford a new car. We don't do that because new cars have massive amounts of depreciation. The depreciation happens the minute you drive it off the lot.